That's the good stuff right there, baby. That is a 9-1 victory for your Detroit Tigers. Let's talk about that and more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet win. We are so back. The Detroit Tigers with a dominant 9-1 victory over the Milwaukee Brewers in Milwaukee. Dominant really is in nearly every facet of this game. It should have been a shutout. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show, but this was an absolute butt kicking by your Detroit Tigers. The win moves them to 10-6 on the season. My first thought is that this was awesome. That is genuinely, like, this was just a lot of fun to watch. You had everything, right? You had dominant pitching by the best pitcher in baseball, the best pitcher breathing right now, right? You had that in Tarik Skubal on the bump, throwing 7 shutout innings. And then you also had 9 runs of offense on the other side of the ball. And you just had an absolute hit parade off of Tyler Alexander. The best part about this game to me was the fact that they never let up. And I know, like, literally, I guess, in the 9th inning, Milwaukee puts a run on the board. Kenta Maeda struggles, whatever. But, like, they continued to apply pressure. They continued to, right, like Tarik Skubal, they could have just pulled him after the 5th and just been like, hey, man, you can get the win, like, but we're going to save the arm a little bit. No, they kept the pedal to the metal. Skubal certainly wasn't going to be about that and want that. I was even kind of surprised he went out there for the 7th. After he finished 7, I wanted him to go 8. But, you know, in that moment, I'm like, okay, now it's a quality start and a win. 6 innings is very respectable in today's day and age of baseball. Like, he's got to be done now. Nope. The Tigers just simply broke their will. They did not allow them back into this baseball game. They looked like the better team from the first pitch until the final out. And I will never, ever, ever take that for granted ever again. It is also, Milwaukee's not like a bad team. Like, they did this against, and, like, you know, throughout the course of 162, every team is going to have its butt kickings. But, like, this is a solid Brewers team still. And I will never take for granted being the team that is doing the crushing. Because for the better part of a decade that we are only just now leaving, the Tigers were the team that, you know, once every week, once every other week, I had to come on here and be like, well, sometimes you lose really badly. It's refreshing. Like I said, I'll never take it for granted. I will always enjoy a win, period. Nonetheless, a big one like this. Let's talk about what went right. Everything. That's the show. We could really just end it there, and you could not listen to my obnoxious voice for the next 25 minutes. But I will just, you know, amuse me. Okay, let's just talk about everything specifically that did go right, so we can celebrate this big win together. I know you put up 9 runs offensively, but how can you not start this conversation with Tarik? 7 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 9 strikeouts. This was as dominant. I feel like I've said the word dominant 87 times in 5 minutes, but like this was as dominant of a start as you will see from a lot of pitchers in this sport. Every single pitch he threw tonight was incredible. The four-seam fastball, incredible. The sinker, his two-seamer, sinker, whatever you want to call it, is so good that it is not restricted to the bottom of the strike zone. That is something that is a little bit of a new age philosophy, but even like, we saw some people that had really good sinkers back in the day that kind of were not afraid to throw it. Maddox very famously was, had no problem throwing the sinker kind of wherever. Now Maddox is Maddox. That's not for everybody. But it's not everybody that throws a sinker or two-seamer, if you want to differentiate them, whatever, is comfortable throwing them in like every quadrant of the zone. And Skubal has no fear and is he knows that it is a good enough pitch where he can just kind of let that fly wherever. He was throwing it up in the zone, low in the zone, east, west, it didn't matter. The changeup is legitimately one of the best pitches in baseball. And that is not news to anybody that is listening. And that is not news to anybody who has watched Major League Baseball for more than, 6 or 7 months. That is one of the best pitches in the entire sport. And it was on full display in this ball game. The thing that makes it so dynamic, part of it really is just the fact that he has such an elite fastball as well, that when they both look like the same thing, it's you gotta just have to guess and hope that you're right. So part of it is just that. But I think the thing that makes it so dominant, aside from, shape and movement and all those things that he has perfected over the years and worked very hard to perfect over the years, is really the fact that he can throw it in or out of the zone for strikes. He can get a whiff on that thing in the zone. He doesn't need it to be like, I'm throwing this and tunneling it low with the fastball so that it dips down to your ankles and he can do that, and he did it plenty in this outing. I'm not saying that's not in. Again, it's both. It's the fact that not only do you have to guess, is this a changeup or a fastball, you also then have to guess, is this a changeup that's going to just barely kind of nick the bottom of the strike zone, or is this going to bounce on home plate? And the fact that you have to have all of those things in mind, and that's just for like one, one section of the strike zone. Then you add the fact that there's 9 boxes that he's aiming at. Like it's got to be so overwhelming. And you saw, I want to specifically highlight the at-bats he had against left-handed hitters. I almost said pitchers. Left-handed hitters in this game. They looked foolish. They looked like they weren't major league hitters. They looked like they weren't major league baseball players. He is remarkable. And his slider, I thought, was really good. That's something that he talked about in the offseason. AJ Hinch mentioned it. He wanted to get a better slider. He wanted a pitch, and not that it's bad, but like it's certainly not as elite as the changeup and the fastball. And I think there's still a long way for that pitch to go before you can just kind of like take the leash off and let him fire it away against righties or lefties. But it was pretty darn effective against lefties. I'll tell you that. And he can just dot that thing low and away. Then he can go change up low and in, and then he can go fastball up and in, and you're drowning, and you're in heck. And the command was pinpoint in this ball game. Everything was so great. And I know we're going to talk plenty about the offense. This was a 9-run game. And I genuinely think the most impressive and the most, the biggest story in the game was how good the starting pitcher looked for the team that scored 9 runs. That's how good he was. Also, like, what a psycho. He's screaming coming off the mound to end the 6th and 7th inning in a 9-0 baseball game. That's a dog, okay? That is and I say psycho in the highest of regard, the biggest compliment I can give a starting pitcher and like a closer. He is the best, dude. He is the absolute best. I want him to play the rest of his career here. He is the man. And I don't know how he's not like one of everybody's favorite Tigers over the last decade of baseball, maybe longer. He's certainly one of the best to ever put on the Old English D. And that's awesome. Okay, let's talk about the offense in this 9-1 victory. We'll do that right after this. Got to talk to you today again about our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and Detroit basketball will be a part of it. FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on all of the action. Right now, you can join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet. You'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet on all of your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets to set a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com to claim your $250 in bonus bets today. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We, of course, will be back tomorrow recapping Game 2 against the Milwaukee Brewers in the Tigers' 17th game of the season. Today, we talk about the 16th game of the season, which was a 9-1 victory. I'm just like, I've said the score a billion times. I'm not going to get tired of it. That is such... The one bothers me a little bit. We'll talk about that here in a couple minutes, but I'm not going to get tired of that type of performance from your Detroit Tigers. They're 10-6 now on the season. Let's talk some offense. The person I want to start with may shock you. Okay, this is, I genuinely think, took some of, if not consistently, the best at-bats of the night. And I don't think I've said that since he has joined the Detroit Tigers. I thought Javier Baez looked absolutely fantastic in the batter's box. Okay. Now, everything's relative. I'm not saying he looked like MVP Javi or that he was out there, ready to do like serious damage. Okay. The thing that was noticeable was his pitch selection was great. It was stellar. I was taken aback. Okay, I was blown away. I thought I was dreaming, and I was in a different reality. Okay, like he was the pitches that he chose to swing at, and the pitches that he chose to not swing at, and the pitches he chose to take, chose to take, were great decisions. Now again, he's still late on 90-mile-an-hour fastballs over the heart of the plate. He isn't going to drive much anymore. His batting average is what, 289, but his OPS is 709. Like, I'm not saying this dude's going to be like a really high walk rate guy. There's a chance he never hits a 400 slug ever again, which at one point in his career was, thought to be a guarantee. But if he can just be an 8 or a 9 hitter and put together at-bats like that are, productive outs or I mean, he did draw a walk in this game. That was a fantastic at bat. I say only the one strikeout, but in 4 plate appearances, like that's an accomplishment for Javi somewhat. So yeah, man, like again, like he had 0 RBI in a 9-run game. Like I know it's weird to kind of start with him, but I'll tell you what, it is one of my biggest takeaways from this game, legitimately, is how good Javi looked and honestly just how impressed I was by his at-bats. So hopefully that's something that can be consistent. There is a chance, and I am telling you this now, caveat to all of this, he goes out there tomorrow and swings at every single pitch he sees, and it's just a one-game thing, and he was just, saw Tyler Alexander and Elvin Rodriguez well. Like that, there's a real chance that that's reality. Neither of those guys are setting the world on fire, but I did want to point it out for whatever it's worth. This offense was great, though. So you have no Riley Green. Torkelson goes 0 for 4, and the team still puts up 9 runs. That is, and also the coolest part was it was everybody, dog. Like there was not one standout that was just an insane, incredible offensive performance, and they really kind of, rode the back of that player. No, this was 9 guys that were all smoking the baseball, and even the outs were productive. Those first 5 or 6 innings were genuinely some of the best at-bats we have seen from a Tigers team in quite some time. Part of that is probably knowing Tyler Alexander pretty darn well. And it's one thing to know the opposing pitcher and have him be like this high strikeout guy. So you're trying to like not strike out a lot, but that there's a lot of, you can just counteract that with different tendencies and different strategies and approaches and whatnot. With a guy like Tyler Alexander, that's mostly a pitch to contact type of guy. If the other team has your number and has the book on you, it's really hard to change that up. Like it's really hard to just not for one game. So I don't really blame, honestly, Tyler, as I keep wanting to call him Todd because of his nickname, Todd the Painter. He's actually had a pretty solid season. His first 3 outings before this were pretty darn good. So hopefully he can get his feet back under him and kind of just take his lump and move on and have a solid rest of the season. Always going to be a big fan of him. Kerry Carpenter was fantastic in this game. Goes 2 for 4 with the solo homer. That ball looked like it had no business being a home run. It was against a righty, which we know that he just absolutely crushes right-handed pitching. But that is a ball that was kind of like, he had to get inside on that, right? Like his hands have to be in a specific spot and his timing has to be in a perfectly lined up to be able to hit that ball hard enough and solid enough to still have it carry. No pun intended. My roommate actually, I'm giving him credit, and I think he could probably hear me right now. But that is something that ball just continued to fly. That is backspin. That is exactly, it matters where you hit the baseball. It's something that Riley Green, when he's at his best, talks about a lot, and something that really a lot of batting coaches at the highest level are trying to really preach, is like, you want to hit the ball perfectly where you're hitting it hard, but you're putting backspin on it. And he went inside out, opposite field, right? Not like to the opposite foul pole, but like you watched the game, I'm assuming, if you're listening to this, left center field rather, as a lefty, and to have that ball carry like that was really darn impressive. So like he didn't even get off to a slow start. Like, he's been crushing the ball. He just didn't have the numbers to back it up. And now they're here, and he's hitting, 270 with a 900 OPS, and everything's fine. And he's hitting lefties. Ain't that a beauty? Got the start against the lefty. The home run was off of a righty, but gets another start against a left-handed pitcher. Speaking of hitting against left-handed pitching, Andy Ibanez, absolute dog. I don't care what his numbers are, dude. Like, I don't. I want him in the lineup every single time a left-handed pitcher is on the mound. I really don't care. Unless he goes, or until rather, I should say, he goes like a super prolonged period of time where he is like, just looks lost against left-handed pitching. I really don't care, man. He puts the ball in play. Even his numbers, like after this game, he goes 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. That raised his average to 185 and his OPS to 600. He's been getting a lot more at-bats against righties because the Tigers have wanted to leave him in the game and not sub him out, so that if you have a lead, managerial chess, if a lefty comes in later, then Andy Ibanez is still in the ball game type of stuff. If a lefty starter is in the lineup card for the other team, I want Andy Ibanez in there. And I like, he hits the ball hard. It's not like he's striking out a ton against lefties. They're just finding gloves. Where it's April 15th. He's still hitting them, and he's still hitting them well. And it was nice to see him get rewarded in this ball game. Gleyber as well, to put a bow on the offensive conversation here. 3 RBIs. He has been such a noticeable addition in the games that obviously he's been healthy for and played for the Tigers this season. Offensive numbers off the charts, but that's even a smaller sample size than the rest of the team because of the injury. But he's been such a nice add, and just gives the lineup I don't know, like professional at bat is, some professionalism in the batter's box. Like this is a guy that is not going to strike out very often, is going to work the count. He's going to, has no problem taking his walks, and also is going to like put the ball in play and hit it pretty hard most of the time. Like he is, I am hoping and even honestly somewhat expecting him to have more similar numbers to what he was doing consistently before 2024 than what he did in 2024. And hilariously, even his stat line in 2024 would have been one of the better offensive stat lines on the team last season. Now, that's more of a testament to not a very strong offense last year than it is to him having a great season. But it's nice to raise the floor of the offense a little bit. Maybe he doesn't raise the ceiling a ton. He's not going to be, that elite, like 30, 40 home run all-star hitter he was at the beginning of his career. But if he can even have, a 750 OPS and just put another tough out in that lineup on a consistent day-to-day basis, that's a win for this team. And that makes the lineup longer, which is what they want. Let's talk about what went wrong, which is barely anything. And then we'll talk stuff. Okay. We'll do that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Prize Picks. Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards than Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With Prize Picks, you must simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Basketball, there's always a lot of fun stuff going on. Luka Doncic, 28 points. Jason Tatum, more than 8 rebounds. A lot of key players in this postseason, including your Detroit Pistons. And hockey, obviously McDavid, always a fun one to look at as well. Austin Matthews, same thing. So I love how easy it is. They have promotions on Tuesdays for Taco Tuesday as well. It is the best. So download the app and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, everybody, welcome back. Your third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Let's talk about what went wrong in this win, which is not a whole lot. The only 2 things I have written down, only one is even a Detroit Tigers thing. The other one is actually from the Brewers. But Kenta Maeda is pretty, I don't know, obviously, I would say, the only player that is going to find himself in this category. And this one goes 2 innings, 1 hit, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, just had trouble at the end. His ERA is over 9.5. The thing, like the box score isn't the ugliest thing in the world, right? Like that's not terrible. The thing is, like when you're watching in the 9th inning there, he could not throw a strike, man. And like that is as low leverage as it gets. And that is the only role that he is probably going to be used in unless the rest of the bullpen is burned through on any given night. Like that is what he has been relegated to. Unless there's a big turnaround, I really don't see how he finishes the year on the team. This is the last year of his contract anyways. I think they can probably, afford to just cut ties with him, give him the money that he's owed and free up that roster spot for one of that's the other thing is like, not only is he struggling on top of that, this is an organization that is now widely known for developing pitching at a very, very high level. And his roster spot is, aside from the 9.5 ERA, is blocking someone else that I think probably has a higher ceiling than him at this point in his career. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm not expecting him to leave, tomorrow. I'm sure there's still some players down there in the minor leagues they want to see some improvements from before they're like, okay, we can't help it. You got to be on the major league roster. But I'd be really shocked if he was here maybe by the All-Star break, but certainly by the end of the season. So we'll keep an eye on that. The other thing that I have that went wrong in this game was the Milwaukee Brewers defense. They only end with 2 errors, but were pretty much punting the ball around the entire game. It just kind of felt like when it rains, it pours for them. It was already a blowout, but like, my goodness, they did not do themselves any favors in this ball game. Just absolutely throwing the ball around, overthrowing people, not able to make routine ground balls. Just, yeah, really not helping your case in any way, shape, or form. And the Brewers usually a pretty solid defensive team. So we'll see if that's a trend or just a one-off, bad night type of thing. Let's talk stuff. So Riley Green gets the day off. I don't think anyone's mad about it. Even before the game, I don't think anyone was mad about it. It's kind of the perfect time to do it. You have a lefty on the mound in Tyler Alexander, albeit a soft tossing lefty. You do have a lefty out there. If there's ever a game where you're like, all right, Riley Green, he's struggled lately. If we can just give him a day off, maybe even like give him a day off, and then if a righty comes in the game late and it's uncompetitive, you can pinch hit him type of thing. But AJ stuck with his guns and just went, you know what, we're just not going to play him at all. Truly give him the day off here, and I'm hoping that is a nice reset that he needs. Hopefully he's back to his normal self tomorrow at the plate. And clearly hindsight's 2020. It worked out fine for the offense. But honestly, even if they lost this game, I have no problem with that decision. Also notable, Green gets the day off against the lefty, not because of the righty-lefty thing, though. I want to make that clear. Carpenter and Zach McKinstry even both get the start against the lefty. Carp is always going to make headlines when he starts against the left-handed pitcher. But McKinstry is, to tell you what the Tigers coaching staff thinks of Zach McKinstry against lefties, he hit below Ryan Kreidler in the lineup card in this game. Okay. Organizations tell you how they feel about players. Zach McKinstry has gotten off to a fantastic start, and I think that is why he got the nod in this game. And still, obviously that's usually he played right field. That is something that Riley Green is usually the corner outfielder there to take that spot against lefties for McKinstry. But I think it is, noteworthy. He's been good enough this year, and he goes 0 for whatever, but like he was good enough this year, so far at least, to earn kind of that opportunity to see what he's got against left-handed pitching. So good for him. Ryan Kreidler with a hard hit single in this game, also with a bunt. They truly had a man on first and no outs and just went, we're just going to bunt. And that ball ended up in, the fifth row, and Ryan Kreidler ended up on second base. But later in the game, to his credit, had a hard hit, like over 100-mile-an-hour exit velocity single to the pull side, was all over it. So good for him. Hopefully, some adjustments can be made and he can kind of salvage his professional career here, and keep making money to play baseball, because for as much as his struggles are, I don't root for anybody to lose their jobs or anything like that. So we'll see what happens there going forward. As I mean, that should have been a shutout. We kind of talked about that a couple of times already. That's something else I had in stuff, because I was going to have, when I was making the show sheet in the middle of the eighth inning, because it was a blowout, this is the third shutout in the last 6 games. And then I had to change that to it would have been the third shutout in the Tigers' last 6 games. But I mean, still, you look at the runs against, you have a shutout against New York, a 2-run against New York, shutout against Minnesota, and then 1 run tonight. And that's not in order. I skipped a 6-run outing, a 5-run outing, a 4-run, right? Like, obviously you're not going to keep every single major league team to sub 3 runs, but just the fact that is something that's on the table on any given night, no matter who your opponent is why I'm just so excited about this team going forward. Saw some old friends in this one as well. Eric Haas getting an at-bat late, strikes out, unfortunately. Tyler Alexander with the start. We already talked about him, got absolutely popped. I think 8 of those runs were his. And then, honestly, mad respect to Elvin Rodriguez, man. That is something that he goes 5 innings of 1-run ball with 7 strikeouts. Just gives up, obviously, the home run there. Fantastic, man. This is and I'm kind of over exaggerating a little bit. It was still low pressure game for sure, and that's kind of the role that he's been delegated to over there. But this was this was huge for them because of the rest of the series in terms of bullpen. If you can lose 9-1 and only use one reliever, that is a win. That's as much of a win as you're going to get out of a 9-1 team loss, right? The biggest victory you can take is just that we didn't burn through our entire freaking bullpen tonight. So tip of the cap to him. I thought he pitched some pretty darn good ball. Former Tiger there, obviously, as well. Kenta Maeda, you can kind of say the same thing, even though he struggled, still allowed the Tigers to give the rest of the bullpen a day off. Game 2 tonight. Same time, same place. Literally, same time, same start time, same ballpark, obviously. Quinn Priester against Jack Flaherty. I think you got the pitching advantage here, too. The Detroit Tigers have the best record in the American League at the time of this recording. I want to know when the last time you were able to say that was. I want to know the exact date. When is the last day, calendar day, at any point in the season that you've been able to say the Tigers have the best record in, and not like tied for, like straight up, standalone, the best record in the American League? Because I think it's probably been quite some time. And it's early in the season. I'm not saying the Tigers are going to have the best record in the American League. Okay, taking a deep breath here. That's not how I want this to come across, but just it's nice. It's nice to be here. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We, of course, will be back tomorrow recapping Game 2 against Milwaukee. I appreciate you all greatly. We are a wagon. Go Tigers, baby. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. Go Tigers.